It's Words and Music with Allison Russell at our Riverside Revival WMOT studio with me, Jessie Scott. So great to see you.
It is always a pleasure to see you, Jessie, my fellow Gemini.
Yes, absolutely. And you live real close to here.
Yes,
It's
hop, skip.
Kind of nice.
It's so nice. Yeah.
Well, it's nice to have you back for as long as you are back in town, because I know how busy you always are. I want to talk about the Broadway run. How did that happen?
It was so joyful. I mean, there are layers to it, but I think it started in 2008 when Anais Mitchell opened for my partner, JT Nero's band. At the time, they were called JT and the Clouds. Opened for them at a series, you can't write this, called Sings Like Hell. For those of you who don't know, the Broadway show that I was part of is called Hadestown. So Sings Like Hell is resonant for that reason. And she opened for them. It was a concert series that went throughout the summer. And I remember just being stopped in my tracks. I remember what she was wearing. She was wearing like a vintage, thrifted velvet brown dress. And she's so beautiful. And her voice is so extraordinary. And I remember her singing Why We Build the Wall, which is Hades' signature song in the musical Hadestown. This was in 2008, mind you. And just being like all of the hair on my body, you know, goose flesh, as they said, like, and feeling this, what is this? I need to know more. And she described at the time, I'm working on this folk opera. It's kind of nerdy. It's about the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice and Hades and Persephone. And I'm working on Persephone's song right now. And, you know, I remember that conversation so clearly at the after party. And we stayed in touch. We were all part of the greater folk Americana community. We all went to Folk Alliance. We would play in, you know, someone's hotel room at 3 a.m. at Folk Alliance and things like that, and trade shows back and forth. We've slept on each other's floors. I think we've nursed our babies on folk stages at the old Fayetteville Roots Folk Fest, things like when Ramona was a baby and Ida was a baby. So we've been friends for a long time. But what happened last year was I started touring. I was the opening act for 53 dates of the Hozier's Unreal Unearthed tour. And it turns out there's a huge amount of overlap between Hadestown fans and Hozier fans. And I was playing my song Persephone, and that just started getting his fans talking about, oh, she should play Persephone in Hadestown. And it kind of, there was like a little viral thing on TikTok about that. And JT noticed it and texted Anais one night and was like, you know that there's this whole overlap between these worlds. And by the way, Allie would love to do that. And she texted him back and said, wait, really? And they were rotating the role. So that's kind of how the conversation started. And it just, all the stars and spheres aligned. And my very patient, wonderful booking agents, Brian Greenbaum and Lindsay at CAA, were willing to move my tour for me to do this Broadway, you know, debut, dream, surreal, bucket list.
It's such a cool
happening.
thing.
Yeah.
You know, because Broadway is...
It's incredible.
I mean, you get the immediate audience interaction, and you feel incredible. The love and the energy.
And it's my favorite musical. You know, it's become my favorite musical. It's a very unique piece, and it's this little musical that could, you know, Anais Mitchell, who wrote it, and Rachel Shavkin, who directed it. It's still the first musical ever in history or since to win the Tony for Best New Musical. And they won a whole slew, won 8 or 9 or 10, I can't remember how many, I think 8 Tonys when it came out in 2019. But it is still the only musical written and directed by women to win that. And it's now the longest running musical on Broadway, both written and directed by women. And it's the 43rd, I believe, longest running musical overall on Broadway, period. And it's the longest running musical at the Walter Kerr Theater. It's home on Broadway. It's extraordinary. And it's being put on by high schools, not just all across America, but all across the world. It's just opened in Australia. It opened in Seoul. I believe it might be going to Japan. It's in London. It's going to Amsterdam. You know, it's been thrilling to watch this music take off, and that it's an extraordinary piece, and it adapts itself to every community and every situation, and it's been just a joy to watch that happening for someone I respect and love as much as Anais Mitchell.
Well, it's so cool too that the whole female forward part of it, which is something that you have done, you know, in these last several years. purposefully,
very much because of
intentionally.
the imbalance, and it's not anything against any other gender, but there's just no question there's been a terrible imbalance in our music world and radio world. As you know, you guys have been fighting this good fight of more accurate representation of humanity on WMOT, and it enriches everything. It doesn't detract from anybody, right? So I feel like people will sometimes ask me in an almost combative way, well, why do you only hire women or gender expansive people in your band? And it's like, until it's not remarkable, I'm going to keep doing it. Once it's not remarkable and it's not even a thing, then I won't worry about it. No one remarks upon a whole stage full of dudes, That's normal. That's normal. But if it's all women, so that's something, it's a gimmick or you're this or that. No, these are just the best musicians I know and some of my favorite people, and we all also happen to be women. Yeah.
Well, and amazing performers.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I want
They're
to throw to Sister Strings
are
again,
incredible.
just because.
They're amazing. They just did SNL with Brandi Carlile and Elton John, and they're on fire. Yeah.
I know.
And they have a new record coming that Brandy's producing. It's going to be amazing.
So great. How did you meet Brandy?
Actually, Kayamo. The Kayamo, the Americana roots music cruise at sea. And we, at the time we were in Birds of Chicago, Ida was, I think, just exactly a year old. And Evangeline, Brandy, and Catherine's first child was about 6 months old. And we met on one of the stops. I believe it was Tortola Beach. And I remember Ida was already running like she was in a hurry for everything. She walked and talked by the time she was 8-9 months old and was running everywhere. It was terrifying. So we were chasing after her on this beach, and I remember seeing Brandy coming out of the water like a goddess, holding Evangeline and looking at me in horror, being like, is Evangeline going to do that soon? And I was like, yeah. We had this moment on the beach. And we just stayed in touch after that. We re-met actually at the Edmonton Folk Fest. It was the year we met Yola. So it was 2017 at the Edmonton Folk Fest. We re-met Brandy and her wife. They were pregnant with Eli, their second child. And we all I remember we shared a workshop stage. It was Brandy, Rhiannon Giddens, and Darlingside and Birds of Chicago shared a stage. And we connected, and they said, keep in touch. And when lockdown happened, and none of us really knew what to do. I had the Outside Child album. I didn't know what to do with it. I had the intuition to reach out to Brandy with it. And I didn't even have her number, so I did the ridiculous thing of sending a DM on Instagram. And I was like, she's never going to see that. But Catherine, the miraculous wife and manager that she is to Brandy, found it somehow, remembered us, and they actually listened to it. And I'll never forget it. We were all living out in Madison in Rhiannon's, the house that she had bought when she was on the Nashville TV show. And it was JT, my ex-girlfriend Anna Teixeira, our beloved sister, chosen sister Yola, and our daughter, all hunkered down there in the lockdown in 2020. The work is gone. No one knows what's going to happen. It's precarious. Everybody's depressed. And I remember my phone blowing up with these song-by-song texts from Brandy and Catherine. And it changed our lives because she started championing that record. She kicked open doors. She got us in a Zoom room conversation with Margie Chesky over at Fantasy Concord Records, and that was that. It just went on from there. We got signed. We met our wonderful publisher Tom DeSavia, who's on the Concord publishing side. At all the IAPA, our amazing IAPA Concord, why we're here today together. So it just changed our lives, and it opened all these doors, and it really gave us hope and means to sustain ourselves through the lockdown and all that's happened since. So, and all the doors she continues to open, inviting me into the Joni Jam. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room that changes your life.
Interesting. She's such a hero.
She's an absolute hero.
She's advocated for so many people.
The Looking Out Foundation, the incredible work they do there. Yeah,
and so do you.
Yeah, I'm following in her footsteps.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Actually, to be able to pass it down to another generation and to bring them up and teach them to be open, to be expansive.
Yeah.
It's a really wonderful thing.
All we can do is try to model what we want to see in the world, right? And the golden rule is like really great, actually. If we just
Say
did
that all the time.
we'd be great. We would be fine.
Do unto others.
As you'd have done unto you.
Yeah.
It's really sounds basic, but apparently it's really hard to achieve.
Let's talk about the Joni Jam.
Yeah.
Jessica's.
Because Joni Mitchell is our lady returner, and we adore her, and she is a miraculous, gives me hope in the resilience of the human spirit and body. You know, I think of someone like Joni who has come back from death's door 3 times in her life, you know, and this last time, post-aneurysm, being told you'll never walk or talk, let alone play or sing or, you know, dance on stage and slam your bear cane into the into the ground in rhythm and hold court and sell out the Hollywood Bowl for 2 nights and play for 3 hours straight each of those nights. I mean, she's extraordinary. She's an absolute hero to me.
Culture hero for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, she went against the grain
Always.
with
Truth
her
teller.
music. You know, it was listening to her own muse.
Yeah.
She didn't follow the formulaic.
Yeah.
She went her own way.
Her epithet is more muse, less ick. She'll say that all the time, and it's wonderful, and it's in my head a lot.
We need
more
T-shirts.
Muse, less ick.
We need T-shirts.
Yes, we really do. Joni, words of wisdom from Joni Mitchell.
Love that.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you going to play for us first?
So I thought I would start with Persephone, since that's kind of what kicked off the whole miraculous Broadway run, and my debut role as the goddess Persephone. It's also a song from Outside Child. It was one of the songs that Brandy first really connected with. And it's about my first love, who really saved me. And we're living through, unfortunately, an era of demonization of our queer community, scapegoating of our queer community, bad faith scapegoating on the part of a regime that is sort of playing tricks to, you know, follow their own special interests. So I think this song has been feeling is feeling empowering to sing lately for me, and also to acknowledge that we really need to acknowledge that none of us gets through this life alone. We're raising each other up. We're taking care of each other, and I wouldn't have survived my childhood without my first girlfriend. So for my first love, Persephone. It's a joy to be here at WMOT 89.5's New Digs here in East Nashville. My name is Allison Russell. I am home here in Nashville after a long time away on Broadway, playing Persephone, the goddess of the underworld, in Anais Mitchell's brilliant musical Hadestown. So I thought I would start with the song that kind of got that rolling. I wrote a song, as it happens, called Persephone, about my first love, who saved me when we were 15 and I was running away from a very abusive family situation. And she taught me what it means to love freely and consensually and without fear or violence or duress or silence, proudly, because pride is every day, 365.
Blood on my shirt, 3 red buttons, might have killed me that time. Oh, if I'd let him, he's slow and he's drunk and he lost his grip on me. Now I'm running down La Rue St. Paul, trying to get out from the weight of it all. Can't flag a car, I know it won't stop. I'll go see Persephone. Tap, tap, tapping on your window screen. God let me in, Persephone. Got nowhere to go, but I had to get away from him. Oh, my pedals are bruised, but I'm still a flower. Come rolling to you in the violet hour. Put your skinny arms around me, let me taste your skin. Mouth to flower, salty sweet, you give got nowhere to go, but I had to get away from him. Oh, my petals are bruised, but I'm still a flower. Come running to you in the violet hour. Put your skinny arms around me, let me taste your skin. Light on your shoulder, light on your cheek, light telling me it's time to leave. The birds are calling to the morning, your parents' feet above us stirring. I kiss your belly before I go. Climb back out of your basement window, back to the cold light, back to the hard life, back to that harsh, bright street. Tap, tap, tapping on your window screen. Gotta let me in, Persephone. Got nowhere to go, but I had to get away from him. Oh, my petals are bruised, but I'm still a flower. Come running to you in the violet hour. Put your skinny arms around me, let me taste your skin. Oh, my petals are bruised, but I'm still a flower. Come running to you in the violet hour. Put your skinny arms around me, let me taste your skin. That was Persephone. I think we were just talking earlier before the camera started rolling about the last time I got to be at the Grammys, which were the 2024 Grammys. And our friends Larkin Poe were winning a Grammy, and Joni Mitchell was winning a Grammy for her live from Newport album that I was so lucky to be a part of because I play in the Joni Jam. Thanks to my beautiful, magical unicorn of a sister, chosen sister, Brandi Carlile, for inviting me into that magic circle. And we were playing on the telecast with Joni. It was her first time playing the Grammys telecast, and I was also up for 4 Grammy Awards in the Americana and American Roots categories. And I did not think I would be winning any of those awards. And I was mostly concerned about getting from the rehearsal hall with Joni to the pre-telecast where most of the Grammys are given out in time to watch Joni win her award, which I was pretty sure she was going to win. And so we were running through the underground, and there was a torrential downpour that year. They called it an atmospheric river. And we were all waterlogged and soggy and running through these dank chambers underneath the Lakers studio to get to wherever the arena, I should say, to get to the pre-telecast. And as I arrived, I had to take off my ridiculous shoes to run and get there in time for these categories to be announced. And I got there just in time to hear Allison Russell, Eve Was Black, Best American Roots Performance, which was one of the more surreal moments of my life. It was joyful because it was uplifting my whole Rainbow Coalition circle of incredible collaborators like Sister Strings and Meg McCormick and Larissa Maestro, Wendy and Lisa, Meg Coleman, all these wonderful, wonderful women, many of whom are Nashville-based, who play with me and who are extraordinary artists, world-class artists of any gender. But it was joyful and surreal, and I didn't even have shoes on when I ran up to the podium, which Val reminded me of earlier. So in honor of those joyful memories, I'm going to play Eve Was Black, which changed all our lives for it to be recognized. And I'm very grateful to our all-Americana community for allowing an artist like me and a circle of artists like my Rainbow Coalition to be recognized and celebrated. And when I talk about Eve, I'm referring to mitochondrial Eve. No matter our differences, no matter our lineages, if we trace that double helix rainbow of our human DNA back far enough, we share a mother, and she was from Africa, mitochondrial Eve. Eve was black, haven't you heard? The mother of all was dark and good so? Is that why you hate my black skin so? Do I remind you what you lost? Do you hate or do you lust? Do you despise or do you yearn to return, yeah? Back to the motherland, back to the garden, back to your black skin, back to the innocence, back to the shine you lost when you enslaved your kin. Why do you try to touch my hair? Do you hope to find a blessing there? Why do you try to keep me down? Do you hope to sow this barren ground? With my black blood, black magic blood. With my black blood, black magic blood. Do I remind you what you lost? Do you hate or do you lust? Do you despise or do you yearn to return, back to the motherland, back to the garden, back to your black skin, back to the innocence, back to the shine you lost when you enslaved your own cousins? What do you hope for as you tie the rope? What do you hope for as you hoist me up? What do you hope for as you watch me swing with the witness tree? Salvation bring. Do I remind you what you lost? Do you hate or do you lust? Do you despise or do you yearn to return, yeah? Back to the motherland, back to the garden, back to your black skin, back to the innocence, back to the shine you lost when you enslaved your very own children. Oh, my father, oh, my mother, oh, my sister, oh, my brother, oh, my cousin, oh, my pale can't wash this sin, can't wash this sin, can't wash this sin, can't wash this sin with my black blood. With my black blood. Ooh, yeah. 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 Back to the garden. Ooh, yeah. Back to your black skin. Ooh, yeah. Back to the innocence. Ooh, yeah. Back to the garden. Back to the garden. Back to the garden. The garden. The garden. This could be our garden. De l'Afrique aux Amériques, une famille, de l'Europe à l'Australie, une famille, de les Indes jusqu'à l'Asie, une famille, de ton cœur à mon esprit, une famille, one human family, equal, indivisible, precious, irreplaceable, amen. Okay, so I think the third and final song that I'll play for y'all is one that my beloved partner in all things, J.T. Nero, first wrote for an album, a Birds of Chicago album called Love in Wartime. And it's a song that has continued to have a life and to evolve and to grow. We did a version of it with our beautiful friend Luther Dickinson, our chosen brother, and Amy Helm,
for a project that we briefly had together called the Capitol Sunrise with Graham Lesh as well, and JT's brother Drew. And I started playing it again with my Rainbow Coalition Ensemble in 2024 as we did 53 dates opening for Hozier on the Unreal Unearthed tour. And that was an extraordinary experience, playing to 20,000, 30,000 beautiful young people every night, opening for him, and really feeling just how traumatized the youth of our country are right now. I'm a mom. I have an 11-year-old daughter, and I'm either a geriatric millennial or a baby X. I'm not sure where I fall, but my daughter is an alpha. You know, she's part of the whole next generation of humanity, and meeting a lot of alphas and Gen Zs on this tour, and just seeing how in crisis we are. We have broken faith with our young ones. I don't think it should be a controversial statement to say that all children are our children, every single one of them without exception, no matter their gender or their orientation or their religion or where they were born or whether they have official papers or not. All children are our children. So I was very lucky to have my beautiful friend Annie Lennox re-record this song with me. The lyrics have changed a little bit. I extended the chorus, and we've just been playing it every night. And it's I don't really know how to pray, so this song is a prayer. This is Superlover.
Tears of rage, tears of grief, Palestine, Israel to Tennessee. We need a super love, need a super lover. Double Dutch and hula hoops, all our fears and loops and loops. We need a super love, need a super lover. The night so cold. Who among us dreams the dawn? Who dreamt us? Oh, where have they gone? Who keeps a candle lit for their return? Who could count the flowers in your heart? Please let me die before my child prayed. Every mother far and wide, yeah, that's a super love. I'm a super lover. You can feel it, near and far, it fades the moon and blinds the stars. That's a super love. Are you a super lover? The night so cold. Who among us dreams the dawn? Who dreamt us? Oh, where have they gone? Who keeps a candle lit for their return? Who could count the flowers in your heart? Believe what you will, believe they're gonna tell you it's naive to be a super lover. But we are super lovers. There's no God of fire and blood. If there's a God, God is love. We need a super love. We can be super lovers all the night. So cold. Who among us dreams the dark? Who dreamt us? Oh, where have they gone? Who keeps a candle lit for their return? Who could count the flowers in your heart? Tears of rage, tears of grief, Palestine, Israel to Tennessee. Tears of rage, tears of grief, Sudan, Congo to Haiti. Tears of rage, tears of grief, Ukraine, Tibet to DC. We need a super love. We can be super lovers.
Allison Russell is our guest for Words and Music here at Riverside Revival for WMOT. Do you always have tears in your eyes when you sing that song?
Superlover, yeah. I can't, I have not been able to get through that one without crying, particularly just, with everything that has been happening here and abroad over the last 18 months, year, longer. It's sort of I don't really know how to pray. I'm a hopeful agnostic. I don't have the comfort, the conviction, or the constraint of a specific religious practice. And I think for me, communion is playing music with my friends, with people who inspire me, for people who come open and willing to listen. It's that circle work. I always talk about from the stage. We perform in a semicircle. We're more on stage. There's no one is above or below. There's no kind of implied hierarchy, even in the way that we stand. And everyone who comes to listen is the other half of that circle. And it's a co-creation. Every live performance is a co-creation. And I think I'm really hooked on not just the kind of alchemy of that, but the inherent harm reduction and hope that it gives me. When we're in community like that around art, and I felt the same, very much the same with theater, with the Broadway run, we are creating something together, and our limbic systems start to link up. I'm just a layperson, but there are people who actually measure these things empirically, and our cortisol levels are reduced, our serotonin levels are boosted, our oxytocin levels are boosted. We literally become less fearful, more loving, and more connected, more open to each other. And I think in these times where there is so much demagoguery and fear-mongering, people can get tricked into fearing their neighbors, and they don't need to fear most of their neighbors. There's very few people who are actually moving through the world with ill intent and ill will towards their fellow humans. And it's certainly not because they're queer, and it's not because they're trans, and it's not because they're any other identity that's being maligned and demonized, So I just think there's something magical about getting together in physically and in the same space. And this song has become a kind of a communion, I suppose, for me, for lack of a better word, as a hopeful agnostic communion and a kind of a prayer. And it was so incredible to get to sing it with Annie Lennox, who has been one of my, like Joni, one of my huge, like Tracy Chapman, like Mavis Staples, like Prince, like Sinead O'Connor, one of my huge, huge musical heroes of all time, and has since become also a beloved big sister and friend.
How did you meet her?
Joni Jam, Brandy Carlisle, B.O.B. We have Ali Harnell and Tracy Gershon, so Ali Harnell from Live Nation and Tracy Gershon, who wears many hats, but is also part of my, we have a management circle together, Kindred, and with Sarah Bear and my partner JT Nero and Tracy Gershon. And we have a saying, B.O.B., Bob, because of Brandy, the number of good things that can be traced back to Brandy Carlisle is absurd. And so it's Bob once again. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
B.O.B.
This song actually has a long history, though. Do you want to talk about how?
Yeah, it's had a whole evolution. It began, my amazing partner in all things, one of my favorite writers on the planet, JT Nero, wrote this song initially for a Birds of Chicago album called Love in Wartime. And we put out that album right before moving to Nashville, or shortly after moving to Nashville, maybe. And, that song keeps coming back and evolving. Songs can have a whole long life. We then revived it again for a project with our beloved brother Luther Dickinson and our beloved sister Amy Helm and Graham Lesh and JT's brother Drew. We did a version of it for that project, the Capitol Sun Rays. And then it kind of needed to come back this year as I was touring, opening those 53 dates for Hozier on the Unreal Unearthed tour. His audience is they're just so beautiful and young. They're very, many of them are queer identified. They're very young, I would say, the average age 15 to 25. They are so lovely and open, and also in trauma, because a lot of them have been rejected from religious communities because of their orientation or their gender identity. A lot of them have been demonized on campuses for protesting the killing of children around the world. They've experienced their adults really letting them down in a profound way, and they started to say this thing, mother is mothering, when I would play. And it really hit me, because I know it's just an expression and it can be used for young, Chapel Roan can be mothering, Taylor can be mothering. But when I was singing to them, it was like, yes, literally, I could be your mom, some of you. And I feel this responsibility that I think all adults on the planet have to, at some point, I hope, acknowledge, whether we have our own children or not, whether we have biologically or by adoption or fostering, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. All the adults on the planet are, in fact, parenting the children of the planet. Glennon Doyle talked about this at Girls Just Want a Weekend, Brandy's festival. We had a share the mic conversation with Glennon Doyle, Annie Lennox, Celise, myself. And one of the things that Glennon talked about was we are co-parenting with every single adult on the planet, whether we intensely disagree with them or not. We have to figure out a way to reduce harm for the sake of all our kids. And a basic precept has to be, we don't harm them, and there's no exceptions to that. And that is the spirit of starting to kind of play this song again, was as a prayer for these kids at the Hozier shows. And they started singing it with me. They started doing what Joni would call a fallen constellation, when you light up the cell phones. And we were just all together in that moment, and we would all be crying by the end of it. And it became a cathartic, hopeful prayer of a song somehow again. And I extended the chorus. Actually, I extended the chorus because at one point we were considering it to offer it to Mavis to sing for her new record. Hozier and I were writing some songs for Mavis, and I put that one forward. And he suggested extending the chorus. And then, of course, the song just keeps evolving because of the world keeps evolving and we keep evolving. But yeah, that's the long, convoluted version of the history of Superlover.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. And we're happy to have it on the radio now. There is a matriarchal theme that runs through this set.
Yes.
The song before that,
Yeah.
Eve Was Black, is such a powerful sentiment and has such an amazing story, too, behind it. I don't know which way you're going to want to take this.
Yeah,
whether you want to talk about the Grammy or...
It won, Eve Was Black won us our first Grammy for myself and the Rainbow Coalition, Dim Star. Dim Star is my co-producer, is my partner, JT Nero, and his brother, Drew Lindsay. Won us our first Grammy. And it was a shock, and it was a funny moment because I was up for 4 Grammys, we were up for 4 Grammys, which was wonderful, and just to be nominated was honor enough, and I did not, in 1,000 years, think we would be winning any of those. And I was mostly worried about the telecast because I was performing on the telecast with Joni Mitchell. It was her first time playing the telecast as well, with Brandi Carlile, Sister Strings, Lucius, and Blake Mills and Jacob Collier. So we had been rehearsing with Joni for the big stage reveal because we were on a rotating stage and make sure Joni was comfortable. And then, of course, most of the Grammys, for those of you who don't know, are handed out in a pre-telecast ceremony because there's hundreds of them, and it's in a different area. So the Grammys this year was in the Lakers arena, and then you had to run sort of through this warren of underground mazes and dodging food carts and garbage disposals and people all stressed out about the atmospheric river because it was absolutely torrential, kind of like a biblical flood almost for the Grammys in 2024. And we had gotten done rehearsal and we're racing to get to the pre-telecast in time for the American Roots and Americana and folk categories to be announced, because Joni was up for Best Folk Album of the Year, which she won for Live from Newport, which we were all part of, Sister Strings and I and Brandi and everybody. And that's what I got to get there in time to watch Joni accept her Grammy. So I took off my ridiculous high heels and ran with filthy bare feet through this, underground maze, got to my seat just in time to hear. And then Grammy for Best American Roots Performance goes to Allison Russell. Eve Was Black. It was the most shocking. What is happening right now? I think it was Carly Pierce actually announced that award. I'll never forget, because I ran up in bare feet and I remember seeing her go like, what are you doing? Running over. But it was a very surreal moment. And it was particularly surreal and joyful that song was acknowledged, that the group performance, the ensemble, what I believe is our strength is in the ensemble. And so the whole Rainbow Coalition was acknowledged and celebrated with that win, our whole all-Americana community, and it was thrilling. And the song, I've had people misunderstand when I say Eve Was Black. I've had people have knee-jerk reactions and, oh, you're racist, or you're this, or you're that. I'm referring to mitochondrial Eve. I'm referring to the fact that the human genome has been mapped and that our mitochondria doesn't lie. And we are a species. We are not separate races. We are one species. Like, race is a construct. It has real ramifications because it's a construct with such extractive, exploitative, ongoing harm attached to it. But it is not scientifically real. We are one species, one human family, and our DNA doesn't lie. Our mitochondria doesn't lie. And when you trace that double helix rainbow of our human DNA back far enough, no matter our differences or our lineages, our perceived differences, we share a mother. Mitochondrial Eve, our species originated on the continent now known as Africa. So that is a unifier to me. That is something to remind people of when they are caught up in false hierarchy, false division. That is bad faith and aimed at extraction and exploitation. That's the origin of why we even talk about race.
We are one family.
We are one family. Yeah.
So you have a date coming up at the Ryman.
The Mother Church. It's our first time headlining. We've been so lucky to get to perform there many times in different contexts, opening for Jason Isbell, opening for Yola, part of the wonderful Americana Fest broadcast the last few years. It's just, and we did an incredible show there with the Fisk Jubilee Singers and Sister Strings and Joy Clark, our friend Shannon Sanders. We've been so lucky to get to perform there in for different events and with different people, but this is our first time headlining, so it's really special. Last year, we did 2 nights at the Basement East that sold out, so we're hoping we sell out the Ryman, we'll see, but it's going to be a beautiful night either way with some special guests and surprises, and we're really, really, really excited to get to play there.
Also, you mentioned that you had to put those dates on hold to
That's
go to
right.
New York. So
Yes.
is that the Australian tour that's about to happen?
Yes, so we're starting in Australia in April, and then we come back to North America in May, and that's the rescheduled All Returners tour that was supposed to happen last fall, but now it's coming with the spring, which feels appropriate. Renewal, reemergence, rebirth for Persephone in the spring and this new tour, and we have new songs coming down the line, a new album coming soon. So yeah, we're excited. And we have the most incredible opener for this tour. She's one of my favorite new artists that I've heard in ages, Kara Jackson. Her album, Why Does the Earth Give Us People to Love, stopped me in my tracks. I actually started listening to it a bunch on the tour bus during the Hozier tour when we were opening. And it came across I think there was an article in the New York Times that featured Karen, it featured Amethyst Kia, who's my sister and our native daughters. And I believe it featured Layla McCalla as well. And Kaya Cater and a few other just amazing artists. And that made me kind of, I'll go check out her record. And I've just fell in love with her. So she's wonderful. We were both recently part of the Red Hot Org's Transa project as well. So yeah, really, really looking forward to the tour with her. And she'll be opening the Ryman show, not to be missed.
That is May 28th.
May 28th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gemini season.
Yeah. I'm so happy to have spent this time with you.
Oh, Jessie, it's always a joy. It's always a joy chatting with you.
It's so great. Allison Russell for Words and Music here at Riverside Revival for WMOT Roots Radio.
Thanks for having me.